Hi, I'm Susan Nudowitz with Let'sFeelExcellent.com, and it's here we are again. It's the alleged cold and flu season, so I wanted to do a blog, my speech about that, and because there's a lot of myths, especially in the medical community, and the medical community is very beneficial to us. But this flu shot and these vaccinations, for the most part, I want to give you my experience of that because I really don't feel that they're necessary, and I really don't feel that they help at all. And let me tell you why. There's several reasons. So the first thing is the flu shot itself is, it's not only that flu in there, there's other things in there. There's other ingredients like raw eggs that you're having injected right into yourself. So if you don't eat raw eggs because you're afraid of salmonella, why would you want that injected in you? There's several chemicals in the flu shot itself, just being purely injected into you. There's mercury. We know mercury is toxic to the body, so we don't want mercury in our bodies. So why would we subject ourselves to this? Also, the flu shot may not even work. There's a high probability that it wouldn't work because what it's based off of is this year's best guess of what flu is going to be flying around. And let me tell you, these germs are already around, and you have enough toxicity, most of us do, in our bodies already. I shouldn't generalize because I don't know you and I don't know that you're watching this, but most of us have enough toxicity in our bodies to provide flu symptoms. So, just because someone flies to China and just makes a guess that this is going to be the flu and incubates it, should you really have that injected into you? Is that really going to make you stronger? I would say, from my experience, no. There's been several clients over the years that have come to me after being vaccinated, and they've had not only flu reactions to the vaccination, but they have had very adverse reactions, and some of those adverse reactions are very difficult to get out of the body. So it's very risky getting vaccinated in any way because you don't know how that vaccine is going to affect you, and you don't know where that vaccine is actually going to end up. That could latch on to an organ or some little nook and cranny in the body that's really, really difficult to locate and get out of the body. So I'm not kidding. People come to me after they have these vaccinations and they have the most difficult body aches to restore. It's not, your fluff and buff massage is not going to do it. These things are difficult to get any lasting change over, and they're really hard to actually get even relief in that session alone. It's doable, but why would you want to subject yourself to that? So let's talk about, we talked about germs, but let's talk about what actually does give us the flu symptoms. Let's talk about number 2 in the 5 things: managing emotional state. Our beliefs have a huge part on our subconscious, and our subconscious can create anything in our bodies. So I've seen a lot of family situations, a lot of work type situations. And what do we all say? Well, it's going around the office. It's going around the house. But what's going around? Is it the belief? Is it the idea? Or is it the actual bug? Because if it's the actual bug, why doesn't everybody get it and then everybody not get it? Why do you have to keep re-getting it? That doesn't make any sense at all. So it can be the belief, because sometimes sickness works for us. It gives us a day off. It gives us time to rest when we wouldn't take it. If we're not going to consciously take it, then our subconscious, it can be very tricky. So our subconscious can be really slippery, it gets in there and creates a flu, and then we're down, then we have to rest. So you see how that works. The other thing that can happen with the cold and flu season in particular, well, it happens when the weather changes. That's another thing people will say. Well, it happens when I get on a plane, or it happens when the weather changes. I just get this thing once a year. Yeah, there can be some validity in that, because if you have acidosis happening in your body that's not functional for you, and you go into a highly alkaline environment, which is a cool environment, a cold environment. So if you have an extreme change of temperatures, especially if there's an abrupt extreme change of temperatures into the alkaline cold environment, then the alkalinity, the body goes, aha, now I'm a little bit more alkaline than I am acidic. So now I have the opportunity to push all these acids out. So it's actually a good thing, because you're detoxing. You're detoxing all of those acids out, the ones that aren't functional for you anymore. In the case of viruses, now viruses are proteins, they're actually dead. And they have to actually do this Trojan horse kinds of thing to get into the cells. They cannot just invite themselves into the cells. So the cell has to be a weakened cell. So if you have damaged, weakened cells in your body and they're not strong and your immune system isn't strong, then these viruses can come in and actually go to those weakened areas of your body. And that is why, like the herpes simplex virus, for example, that can latch off on into different areas of the body. It can be, in the rib cage, it's shingles, and on the face, it's one herpes simplex, and in the genitalia area, that's usually to do with a weakness in the low spine. So when it finds the weak cells, then it can take hold and get life, and it can become alive, and it can take over those cells. So we want to be strong, and just because we have viruses that are so-called incurable doesn't mean we can't kick them out of our bodies. They're just cells attached to other cells. So they're just parasites, that's all they are. They're really hard to get out of the body, but it's not impossible, and certainly we can render them under control by building up our immune system. So what are the other things I wanted to tell you? Hey, the 5-thing protocol really is imperative here, because if you're not wanting to have colds or flus or viruses, then you want to elevate yourself to excellence by adhering to the 5 things. So you want to have your structures aligned, because where there are weaknesses, like I just explained with the viruses, is where those acids can form and build up, and where those weakened cells can be in, and so then those germs and those viruses can give you, it's a perfect time to give you those symptoms that aren't really that comfortable. So bodywork per se is not so recommended while you have a fever and you have a cold and flu active. That's more of an acute situation, but more so over the course of the year, that you really take care of your body and have as few of these misalignments and as little of this inflammation going on as possible, so that these things running around doesn't have a chance to take hold when the environment becomes unstable or alkaline, like when you have to take a trip or when the weather gets colder. So in managing emotional state, we talked about that. You don't have to have this once a year cold or flu. It's really the idea of having it. So you want to get rid of these beliefs that it's like, well, every time I go travel, I get sick. And I get a cold once a year. It happens to everybody. And I need a flu shot because I'm at risk where I work. These kinds of things, you want to get rid of those beliefs so that these colds and flus don't have an opportunity to latch on to you. Rest, time management, really important. You don't want your body becoming in a deficit of rest, and you want your time management to be effective so that you can have your days where you're feeling productive, you're feeling on task, and you're feeling accomplished by the end of the day, and that way you can take a nice slumber without resistance and without having these pulls on you, like, well, I didn't get this done and I didn't get that done and all these things, and the guilt and whatnot. So you want to have those things all taken care of. Hormonal balancing is really important because vitamin D is a steroid hormone. You need to make enough of it in your body. And even in Hawaii, here, I'm in Hawaii, and there's plenty of sun, plenty of opportunity for vitamin D. And I generally run deficient. So my body, there's some imbalance with the hormone in making that vitamin D. So if you don't have the vitamin D, you're going to get sick more often. And what else? Okay, so let me give you some points if you do get the cold or flu this season to just make it easier for you. First thing, you're detoxifying. Let it out and rest. You need to rest. You'll get the signal if you have a fever, you don't want to eat, and you're not going to feel hungry. So don't push that, because your body is actually burning off all the iron in your system, so that because the cold or the flu or the virus is wanting to live off that iron, so it will burn it all off. So you just want to do like a water fast and drink plenty of fluids, but not eat anything when you have a fever. You don't want to get massage when you have a fever, even if you have severe body aches, or you just feel achy all over. You want to wait until that fever's over and pretty much the cold is on the downside to get massage. But you can always get lymphatic drainage, which would be really helpful, because that's what the lymph system does. It takes out the trash. So it will actually help that inflammation to subside and help your body to really detoxify all of that. So lymphatic drainage would be excellent for a cold or flu. Craniosacral is also not bad because it helps your nervous system to relax and it helps to bring down that inflammation, but it's not like massage where it's going to actually break up those inflammatory processes. when you have inflammation anywhere and you have edema, what's happening is the body has that area walled off so that it can just work on that area, and so it won't, those toxins won't become systemic and actually travel through the body, and the immune system won't have to like be looking for it all over the place and have it, go there and try to wall it off again. So what you want is those inflammatory processes to happen on their own. And so cranial sacral or lymphatic drainage really supports that. It doesn't break it up until it's ready to actually flush it out of the body, and massage would. I've also had a structural integration when I was taking the class. It was really stressful, and I was on planes and in and out of extreme temperatures all the time. So I got really sick and a couple of times. And to learn, part of learning structural integration is actually receiving the treatment. So I had to do that part of the class even though I had a sizable fever. And I'll tell you from my experience, you have to judge it from your own experience. I wouldn't really recommend it, but from my experience and from experience of working on clients, letting them decide and actually working with the clients, it hasn't affected. It actually makes the cold or the flu move faster too. Because again, we're not really breaking up those walled off inflammatory processes of the organs there. So another thing you can do is you can alkaline further, because you're wanting to let this cold or flu out, but it is reacting to the weakened cells and the acids in your body. So you can just take the opportunity to do a total detox. And just do it one slam time over the year, since you have it. So you can use other alkaline things. If you don't have a fever, you can use greens. And fruit is excellent always. Fruit is a great detoxifier. And there's also been baking soda with a little lemon and stevia. So lemon is a really, really excellent detoxifier. And baking soda can be really good too, especially for a cold or flu. So you might want to try those things in addition to your rest if you don't have a fever and you really do want to get over it quickly. But what I really suggest is detoxifying more throughout the year. And just not really letting this cold or flu happen. So work on your 5 things and do your detoxification more over the course of the year. Because, sometimes these detoxing healing crises happen, but they happen usually in the beginning of a lifestyle change, and then they really become very minimal and very easy to handle and deal with. And then they become kind of like nothing, so you don't even really know you're having them. So that's the way that I would recommend over trying to prevent it with a flu shot or over-the-counter medications. You don't want to take over-the-counter medications. This is why. Over-the-counter medications are only going to suppress the symptoms. So that means there will be a next time. They're just adding to the acid load on your body, and they really don't do that much anyway. They just kind of dry you up. They more dehydrate you, and you're going to be having more toxins to get out of your body in the long run. The same thing with NSAIDs. You know, a lot of people say, well, just take an aspirin or an ibuprofen, at least to reduce the fever. They're the fever reducers. There's nothing wrong with a fever that's up to about 102, even in kids. And I mean, use your own judgment on that. But what a fever is there to do, it's there to burn those toxins off. And it's purposeful that you don't sweat because it wants to burn all these things from the nooks and crannies inside of you. And then you want to sweat afterwards. You want to have your alcohol bath and then sweat it out afterwards. That's really important, as well as drinking fluids to flush it out. But you don't want to take NSAIDs. They're dangerous. They don't solve anything, and they do more to cause a lot of problems in the body rather than help you. And I will do a whole separate video on that for you. So I hope this has been beneficial to you. It's getting kind of late, and so I know I got a little bit sleepy there. But please post your comments down below if you have had this kind of experience with the cold or flu, and what your way is to keep yourself cold or flu. Keep that from happening in your life. I'm Susan Nudowitz. I bid you excellence and aloha.